Friends, we give thanks also for the faithful and transformative work of urban ministry in Birmingham. For decades, this ministry has been steady and had a courageous presence, feeding, healing, and empowering neighbors in ways that reflect the love and justice of Christ. We are especially grateful for the leadership of Reverend Garrett Harper, who serves as Executive Director. Garrett brings a deep pastoral heart and a strong community vision to his work, building on the foundation of those who came before him and while helping the ministry meet the needs of this moment. I've had an opportunity to visit with Reverend Garrett, and I want to tell you, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing in the West End. You're doing some significant work, and I think feeds right into what I want us to do when we engage our communities and when we develop leaders, when we grow disciples, and when we evaluate our missional opportunities. So let's welcome Reverend Garrett Harper as he comes to share an update on urban ministries' work and witness.
Thank you. So Urban Ministry is a United Methodist nonprofit in Birmingham's West End. And United Methodist, and you need to know about two saints upon whose shoulders Urban Ministry stands. Miss Ernestine Washington was from West End, and Charlie Hayes, who was from Vestavia. Now, I first moved into West End with Caitlin in 2015 to pastor the United Methodist Church at Urban Ministry. It was my first appointment, and several mentors and pastors had given me advice about taking a church, which I formed into 4 basic rules. Right? Rule number 1, don't trust anybody. Right? Not too quick, don't make any promises. You need to get a copy of all the hidden agendas before you do that. Rule number 2, don't make any major changes in the first year. Slow down, take your time. Jesus is certainly taking his time coming back. Right? Don't need to rush. Rule number 3, I call this the hospitality clause. If someone feeds you, eat it. No buts, no caveats, no dietary restrictions. It's a part of your job. Right? And rule number 4, spend the first several months just getting to know people. So when I moved into West End, I followed the rules and I started getting to know people. And I quickly learned that everyone within 5 blocks of Urban Ministry called one woman, Miss Ernestine Washington, Mama. Now, Ernestine officially fostered 19 kids, raised countless more. On any given night of the week, there were adults and kids without a place to stay, sleeping on the floor of her 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. So I started going over to Ernestine's to get to know people connected to the church. Now, Ernestine loved playing cards and cheap liquor. Right? So the first time I went over to her house, she dealt me a hand of cards and she poured me a glass of the most god-awful, devil-distilled liquid fire known to God's earth. Right? Now, that first night, I drank it. Remember, rule number 3, hospitality clause. But boy, did I pay the price. That distilled death declared war on my throat, then on my stomach. It even fought me a few hours later on the way out. Now, as I left her house that evening, I promised myself that I would never do that to my body again. So the next time I went over there, Ernestine dealt me some cards, poured me a glass of liquor, and I had to figure out what to do with it. So while she wasn't looking, I took that little glass and I poured it into the house plant behind me. Now that worked well for several months until one day I went over to Ernestine's and the house plant was gone. I said, Ernestine, what happened to your plant? She said, Pastor, I don't know. I've taken good care of it, but it just up and died. I didn't say anything, but for all of you who are concerned, I bought her a new plant the following week. Now, on that particular night, it was cold outside. Ernestine had the oven set at 500 degrees with the door wide open. It's both the poorest and most expensive way to heat your house. The living room was packed, probably 20 people in there, adults laughing, talking, kids running around playing. And as Ernestine dealt me the cards, I asked her, I said, Ernestine, who in here is your family? She smiled and said, oh, everybody, Pastor, including you. I said, all right, in Christ Jesus, brothers and sisters, but who in here is actually related to you? She said it again. Everybody, Pastor, including you. I tried a third time. Ernestine, I'm talking blood in your veins. Help me make sense of this church. Who in here is actually your family? She lifted her finger, pointed at me, and said, everybody, Pastor, including you. Now, don't ask me again. Now, Ernestine had the most powerful finger in West End, and when she lifted it, you were compelled to its will. I didn't dare ask again. That was 10 years ago, and I still don't actually know who was related to Ernestine Washington. It wasn't because she didn't tell me. It's because Ernestine loved everybody as family. I think this is what Jesus was trying to teach his disciples when he taught them to pray, Our Father. He said, if y'all can just learn to love non-family like you do your own, this broken world just might have a chance. Ernestine's the only one I've seen do it. I can't do it. I love lots of kids in West End, but I only have college funds for the 2 that I helped make. Right? But not Ernestine, not Mama. She loved us all the same. The second saint I'd like to lift up is Charlie Hayes. Now, I never met Charlie Hayes, but I met his grandson the same year that I met Ernestine Washington. He started coming to church at Urban Ministry every week for over a year, which is unusual for us because most of our folks live within walking distance of our church. One Sunday during the prayers of the people, a young mother lifted up a concern. She said, my car's broken down. I've fallen on hard times. I can't fix it. I don't know how I'm going to get the kids to school. I won't be able to get to work, and I'm scared. Well, after the service, I was talking to that young mother, and Charlie Hayes' grandson walked up. He pulled his car keys out of his pocket, and he said, listen, I'm going on a work trip for 2 weeks. Why don't you take my car while I'm gone? And as he handed her those keys, I thought to myself, this is a bad idea. My second thought was, I wouldn't do that. One of the reasons I drive a stick shift is so I can tell my church members no when they ask to drive my car. And the third thought was, why? Why did he do that? I didn't get an answer to that third question until 5 years later when I became the executive director of Urban Ministry. Charlie Hayes died, and I received call after call and story after story about the kind of person Charlie Hayes was, how much he believed in the Urban Ministry mission, and how much he loved families in West End. And as I listened to those stories, I sat back in my chair and smiled and said, of course his grandson shared those keys. He practically had no choice. He was standing on the shoulders of his granddad, standing on the shoulders of Charlie Hayes. Urban Ministry stands on the shoulders of Ernestine's and Charlie's and countless other United Methodist saints and people like you. Now, in the last 5 years, so many organizations have been distancing themselves from the United Methodist Church. Some have changed their names, others have removed the cross and flame, some have even met in secret, disaffiliated from this annual conference and not even told us about it. But not Urban Ministry. We leaned in, strengthened our connection, and claimed who we are. Why? Because we're standing on the shoulder of Charlie Hayes, of Ernestine, of people like you who are more interested in being known by who you include rather than who you exclude. Right? We know that Urban Ministry would not exist without the North Alabama Conference of the United Methodist Church. And the fruit of our leaning in has been an increase in our budget from $700,000 in 2020 to $1.5 million today. Urban Ministry does not exist without people like you. who care enough to give, come, and act. And right now, one anonymous United Methodist is matching every gift to urban ministry up to $100,000 for the next 15 days. And once again, we can't do it without people like you. Thank y'all so much.
My friends, that's why I'm so excited about being in North Alabama. There's so many ministries just like this happening all over this annual conference, and we need just to get on board and be whom God calls us and needs for us to be as we not only worship within the walls, but we live outside of the walls, being God's witnesses, missionaries in the places in which we live and work.